Hi, Facebook fam. We are here. We are here. We are here. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, Facebook. Boo, YouTube. And by the way, I'm going to be uploading this replay to YouTube after that, so that's hilarious. Hey, Janine. Thank you for your patience. Janine was texting me like, excuse me, what is the problem? Here's a screenshot. It says you're going live. You're not here. Hey, Larry. Welcome. I'm so excited you guys are here. I just want to give like 60 seconds to let people get the changeover. We were supposed to be YouTube and IG only. Hi, Brand Jesus. I like your tag. I like that name. Because I am a Jesus freak. For those who don't know, I am. How are you? I'm amazing. I'm amazing, especially now that we are out of whatever that was on YouTube. It was taking forever. People outside my house are cutting grass. We have a school across from us, and it was really, really loud. It was all kinds of like, why is this happening? But I know it's because we have some really, really great things to get to today. And, you know, there's always an attack from the enemy, right? It's always something. And again, technology is not always my best friend, but I'm happy. It doesn't matter. This isn't about technology. Technology is the least intimate thing that we can talk about right now, and I don't want to do that. I want to jump in. So welcome. At this point, I can't say my normal good morning, because at 11:30 Eastern, I can still say that, but I'm going to have to just say good afternoon. Welcome. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this is Let's Talk Intimacy, where we talk all intimacy matters. If you see me going between screens, it's because I have Instagram on my left and I have Facebook to my center and beautiful sunshine to my right. I'm really happy. Hey, Nick, welcome. I miss you. We have to catch up. Like, we super have to catch up. I'm really excited. Hi, Tara. Welcome. I know you are stretched out and flexible and ready for the day, yoga expert and all. I'm really excited that you guys are here, that you've been patient. I've had an amazing 6 weeks of just loving on myself and being intimate with me and my husband and my babies and my grandbabies and friends and family and all that kind of good stuff. In, you know, with limitations, because it's really about me as my selfish time to recharge. Welcome. And oh, Jenny, you joined from both. That's awesome. And I'm really excited to be back. So we had a little bit of a hiatus right after we had kicked off, probably in May-ish, when we first started Let's Talk Intimacy. Took a break, and now we are back. So I'm excited. September is my new year. It's the year that I come back, the beginning of my year, to come back into everything on life. You said no sound on IG. Can you guys hear me on IG? Let me know if you cannot hear me on IG. Salmon, I think I'm saying your name right. Let me be very clear that I am your best friend or your worst enemy. So if you are here to troll, you will be blocked. Be mindful, okay? We just want to be very clear about that. And if you know me well, you know I'll say it gently and honestly. All right, thank you. All right, so let me know if you guys are getting, hey Bilal, welcome. Are you getting sound on IG before we get started? I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. If not, I will test something or do something. I think you can hear me. I love the waves, so thank you. And Facebook, I'm assuming you guys can hear me well, so that is fine. Please make sure you share with your friends so people know that we are officially here, since we technically were supposed to go live at 11:30, but we're not. Okay, great. Bilal said he can hear. So maybe it was just something else funky with technology today. All right, so I will officially jump in. My name is Naketa Thigpen. I'm a balance and relationship advisor. I work with a lot of ambitious women and brave men that are really just about doing bold and magnificent things in their life. That's all they're doing. Some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them are just entrepreneur spirits that show up as leaders and impactors in the work that they do. And they want to make sure that they are able to do what they love, do it greatly, no apologies for it, but they also still want to have passionate, thriving love lives. So that's kind of where I fit. Like, balance and relationship is my jam. Trauma is my background. I'm a trauma expert as a licensed clinical social worker for over 20 years. Hey, Darnell. Hey, now, look, my old neighbor is joining, which is super awesome. And I am all about love. That's what I'm about. I'm a balance expert, of course, relationship expert, of course, but I am all about love. And the intimacy that I'm referring to is literally just going a little further. It's getting closer, doing things more authentically with each other. So yes, It does include sex. We are including sex because sex is an intimate practice, but that is not all we're talking about. When I'm talking about intimacy, I'm talking about your self-care, your self-love, which is very different than self-care, by the way. You can have self-care and not actually be loving on yourself. You can be loving on yourself and not practicing self-care, but that is an intimate thing. Being intimate with your siblings. My sister just joined. Hey, friend. Like my biological sister, like my real sister. Like being intimate with your siblings, your parents, in your parenting. Intimacy is literally about going further in a more authentic way and showing that love. That's all it is. And again, yes, we include sex. So there is no topic that's off the level, the limits here. Like, I don't know why I can't think of the word, but there's nothing that we can't talk about as long as we are being kind and open and vulnerable and honest with each other. That's what we're talking about. So if you are dating, don't be ashamed to ask your questions about intimacy. If you are married, do not be ashamed to ask your questions about intimacy. If you are figuring out the figure-outables, as Marie Forleo would say, for whether or not you're ready to get back in the dating game, you're not sure about it, you're post-divorce, you're a widow, you're just taking a break because you're hashtag over it. I get it. It's okay. Do not be ashamed. This is a safe place. And as a licensed clinical social worker who is a professional, who's been doing psychotherapy for a really, really long time, who also for the last 8 years has owned her own global personal development company specifically to help you push past all this stuff so you can create your joy and your balance and all the things that matter with you that include having some passion and love and intimacy in your life in every single sphere. Work, life, and love. Work, life, and love. It matters. Because honestly, when you have balance, you have all of those things. You have great work that you do in the world, whatever that looks like, whether it's through your creative outlets or your strategic kind of 9-to-5 professional hat, whatever that is. Your life, your friendships, your social relationships, all of that is thriving, and you feel like you have trusted people that you have great discernment with, that you can call at 3 a.m. if you really need something, but you wouldn't call them at 3 if you didn't need it, right? Like, you have really good, healthy relationships. That's what that's about. Hey, Casey. And obviously, in your love life. And when I say your love life, I really am talking about your personal coupled love life. I'm not just talking about your self-love, which is extremely important. And that is where it starts. But we're talking about all of it. And I felt the need to just give like a reminder disclaimer because I know we have some new people here. And I welcome you and I thank you. My sister, Vivian Green, she is an amazing, amazing, amazing woman. Did such a heartfelt thing. I did not expect to see a message from her early in the morning. She did a post at like 1-something a.m. at whatever time in the morning. I don't know because I was asleep. If you know me, you know I was tired. I go to bed fairly decently early. I try to. Hey, husband. My husband's here. I was really, really tired, so I didn't see it. And I woke up to this amazing video that she did while she was sitting in the studio saying that you guys should join this and you should come and you should ask your questions and be brave and be aware that I will be honest. And I'm very unapologetic in what I share and what I give, both in my own story, because I'm the first partaker of all of this stuff, a lot of the things that I'll share with you, as well as the professional advice that on top of it, that maybe some of it I learned later, maybe some of it I knew, but I just wasn't applying to my own life because we do that, right? The helpers don't always help themselves until after the fact when they have these reflective moments and they've learned their lesson, and I am no exception. I've gone through it as well. So you're talking to a real person, not a book. I'm not reading anything from a book. I don't need to read it from a book. I've had lots and lots of books, lots of degrees, all that kind of good stuff. You know, I'm always going to be learning, so don't get me wrong. I'm always staying up in the areas that I love, but you are not talking to someone who's just going to like say, wait a minute, I don't understand real life stuff. Let me read it from a book, or let me go regurgitate it from something I Googled or binged somewhere. So be mindful. I'm really excited. And again, I'm Naketa Thigpen, so let's get started. If you have questions, hey, no, if you have questions at all, obviously you are here live right now. For those of you who are listening and not hearing the replay, just tap it, whether you're on Facebook Live, on my personal page, or you're on IG Live, just text it, and if I can get to it fast enough, I will. I always ask you to submit your questions ahead of time if you can, because it allows me to really give it some thought. And if I need to dig into my tools and my resources, I can do that to give you more of what you want. You can email at asknaketa@thigpro.com. I will put that below before we end. If you're on IG, you can go right into my bio. There is a link at the top with all that information. And if you're on Facebook, you already have this information because you're on my Facebook page. So it's fine. So let's get started. Every single week that we go live, which we will go live weekly on Thursdays, basically 11:30 a.m. Eastern, assuming that I am not on a stage impacting in a different way somewhere and I can't videotape it at the moment. So there's few exceptions for Thursdays, but for the most part, it would always be Thursday weekly at 11:30 Eastern and 8:30 a.m. Pacific, because that's where most of our people are from the West Coast and the East Coast that are joining, and a few pockets in other places. You can always email, obviously, your questions ahead, ask your questions here. And for now, I think we're just going to go live in IG and Facebook. I'm kind of over all the craziness that happened in YouTube, so I will update all that good stuff for you guys. But every week we have a different theme to intimacy, to what we're talking about. Now, on this live stream, it is all about your personal intimacy. So personal intimacy across everything. If you're having personal intimate issues at work, we're going to talk about them too. Conflicts with the queen bees of the world that you might be dealing with, people who are walking around smelling themselves and don't want to uplift you. That mostly happens to women, the queen bee syndrome that happens. We can talk about that here for sure. We're talking about your love intimacy, your sex intimacy, your friendship, relationship, your self-love intimacy, all that here on the live stream. But if you have business intimacy questions about attracting and growing your client base or your team with better intimate practices, that is for somewhere else. And if you want to know more about that, you'll have to email me directly to get that, because that stuff isn't coming out for a few more months. We're working on that behind the scenes in New York as we speak. What are your thoughts on couples going into business together? Oh, great question. Great question. Hey, Melissa, welcome. Couples going into business together, as in this was a plan and this wasn't a happenstance because it was just something they needed to do because there was unemployment, there was a gap, and they were just trying to figure out the figure-outables. I would say you got to be careful, but it can be beautiful at the same time. Speaking from someone who both has done it and has quite a few clients who are actually in a relationship with their husband or wife in terms of business. I don't know why I can think of the word. They're running businesses together. Sometimes they're running two separate businesses that are not necessarily in business together, but they're home a lot, working as if they feel like they're working in the same business. So sometimes that can feel very, very similarly. I think you have to set some boundaries and be really clear about what the role will be in business. I know for me and my husband, I had a really huge challenge with, in the beginning, 8 years ago when we started the business together, because we are co-founders of the company. He's a shareholder and a part owner, but he didn't necessarily want to be in the business the way that I did. I'm the face of the business. I do a lot of the service providing of the business. I work the business. I do a lot of that stuff, and he does a lot of the magic behind the curtain, if you will. A lot of design, handled a lot of operations, a lot of technical stuff, and that was all fine. But in our home life, in our personal life, that's not how we roll it. I'm not necessarily leading that way in our personal life. I really do reflect on the fact that I love my husband being the leader of our household. I'm a very strong woman, so it's definitely not a question of not having a voice in the house. We are two alphas for sure. And that was a challenge because in the business, I had to be mindful that I was not just his boss, if you will, because technically, because of all the stuff that I was going out and doing, and as the president and CEO, and he was COO at the time, technically there was a hierarchy, but we were partners in such a small company, and it can really create some division and challenge with your boundaries, your time, and it can affect your intimacy for sure. Because if I'm, for lack of a better word, if I'm not being, usually I say the B word is for boundaries, if I'm being a different type of B, at work because I'm challenged with communicating with him, then it's obviously going to affect our intimacy at home. Just our, our normal loving relationship that we would have, our cuddle time, our snuggle time, and everything in between. So you do have to be really careful with that. And this brings me to a segue point of what this week's theme is literally about: get from up under each other. Like, get from up under each other. Now, if you work together in business, if you work together a lot closely because of the way your, your time is, like my husband and I both work from home different things, but we work from home, so we're technically always around each other unless one of us is traveling or something. Or if you're just one of those couples, whether you're married or not, but you're in a relationship where you are always up under that person. Every time you look around, he texting you, you texting him, somebody blowing up somebody's phone, y'all FaceTiming, Marco Poloing, whatever the acronym would be for the verb of that. You're constantly like, babe, what are you doing? You know, we're driving into work together. We're driving to the train together. We're leaving home together. You're calling each other on lunch. It is too much. It is too much. You have to give yourself a little time to recharge and recalibrate, which is crucial and super, super important. That's number one. I am 1,000%, if you've been watching this at all, if you haven't watched the replays from before, which are in fact on YouTube, I am all about being intentionally selfish. Like, get a little selfish, because you allow yourself to be more authentic when you take care of you. Carve out that time for the self-love and the self-care, and all that you fill up will overflow in amazing ways on whoever it is that is in your life that you're loving on, whether it's just your family, your kids, whatever, but especially your lover, whether you're married to him or not, right? Like, it will overflow if you do that. But if you are just caught up under each other because y'all feeling guilty about past mistakes, or you think that this is the best way to keep him or her, and you're having trust issues, so it's better to be up under each other, that is not a good way to have a healthy 25+ year relationship or a 5-year relationship. It is going to lead to serious toxicity. And I'm not even talking about the business implications of that and how damaging that can be for the momentum and the effectiveness and the productivity of your performance on a business end, because it does affect you whether you're in business with that person or you just work in the world. When your love life ain't right, and I did say that, it obviously, and this is not anything more than science that I'm saying without all the jargon, it is not by no means going to be an exception to pulling from your performance. It's not an exception. If I had a horrible situation with my man and he got on my last good God-given nerve, and whatever the case was, whether I was wrong, which is very, very rare, by the way, or not, and we got into something, and then I have to go to work and show up in full, awesome, creative juices, innovating, impacting, investing, and doing all this other good stuff, let alone working with other team members, I'm not going to be my best self, whether I show up with an inauthentic smile or not. But if I am a little selfish, right? If I am a little selfish and just take care of me for the whole point of making sure I have something really good to give to somebody else, then it's not a problem if he has an emergency or he calls me or he needs me for something, because I have something to give to the need. I can start to create the solutions and solve the problems. Like, I have a little bit more energy to put in it, and I don't do it with regret, which is a huge issue that comes up with people who spend way too much time with each other. You end up regretting. It's cute for like 2.2 seconds, literally. 2.2 seconds is cute, and then it's not cute anymore. Because as soon as you need any kind of space, you have trained the other person to expect that you're going to be like this with each other. Like, you're constantly going to be up on each other, whatever that physical demonstration should be. That looked like you were fighting, but that's not what I meant. Somebody's laughing at me. Don't question my hand movements. I'm very special today. But that's what's going to happen. They're trained to it. So now they're looking like, well, what's the problem? Why can't I call you? Why can't I come over? Why aren't you returning my text messages in 3 seconds? Why aren't you answering my FaceTime? Like, what's the problem? Because when it was cute, you encouraged that person to do it as you were doing it back with them. That's when it was cute, for literally 2.2 seconds, right? Which might have been a couple months, a couple of weeks while you're getting to know each other, when y'all actually realize you got a little vibe going. Okay, fine. But what happens when real life kicks in? You got bills to handle. Somebody in the family died. That happens because we're human, right? Like, something tragic happens and you need space to just deal with the loss of something. But that person, as loving as they are, have been trained to be the person that can get up under you at all times. That is a problem. And it absolutely will affect how you show up at work. That's the reality. So you got to give space. You need some more me time. You just need it. Take care of you, pour into you, babe. You gonna watch football for a couple hours? Cool. I'm gonna go call my sister. I'm gonna call Chi. Okay. I'm good. You wanted to watch a movie? Oh, it's okay. We just did that last night. Why don't tonight you relax for a half or an hour and then I'll come chill with you after. Just whatever that time is. It might be 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but you need time for you. You got to heal. We got some stuff. We got some scripts. You've been in this world. You got some stuff. You've been living. You over 20. You got a little bit of stuff. You over 30. You got a lot of bit of stuff. You over 40. We ain't even got to talk about it. It's so much stuff in there that needs to be unpacked. It's not even funny. Because we had experience. We had challenges. We had parents that grew up doing what they knew to do best, which wasn't necessarily the best that we needed. We were scripted to think certain things of ourselves, to be certain ways in relationships, things that have to get unpacked and re-scripted, have to be redone. And if you're up under somebody, you don't have time to do that. Hey, Ashley, you know, music man, I'm a music man. Hi. You don't have time, right? So you want to be mindful of that. You need that time for yourself. It's just really that simple. And add to that, it can make your intimacy that much better. Give some time to miss each other. When I go out of town, my husband is the cutest. He can't sleep. Now, some people don't think that's cute. I think it's cute. Because I'm like, yeah, you better not be able to sleep, but I ain't home. Right? No, I'm joking. A little bit. Just a little bit. But he really can't sleep. He has a hard time sleeping because he misses me. So when I come home, there's a lot more light in his eyes. He's not annoyed because he's been with me all day, every day, because we're working in the same physical space together since we both work at home, right? Like, give each other some space and some time and some room to miss each other. It's super important. And yes, there could be more joy from it. Your conversations could be a little bit more interesting because now you're experiencing other things to come back to the table to talk to each other about. If you're always around each other, if you're talking to each other all throughout the day with everything, all throughout the week, if you're doing all of that and it's overkill, what is there to really connect on? Sex can only hold you for so long. If you're over 40, you already know that. As good and delicious and wonderful as it can be, as amazing as it is, that can't be your whole relationship. Whether you are in the dating phase of this conversation, the figuring out the figure-outables of dating in this conversation, or you are actually in a long-term relationship. You already know. Sex ain't the only thing, right? That is a small part. You got to be able to talk about something. Now, in the case of the entrepreneurs or the people who are working in business together, which was one of the earlier questions, you got to be careful not to go to the other extreme, right? Like I did that. First partaker, my husband will say in a second, all I could do was talk about this other baby, which was our business. I was so excited, so overwhelmed, so afraid of the huge vision of it, so nervous about messing it up and being a bad parent, if you will, like all of that stuff, and the creative juices were flowing constantly, that was literally all I could talk about. We literally could be in the bed and I'd be like, babe, what do you think about, like, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I don't mean necessarily in a sexual intimate position, because obviously I am not thinking about nobody's business or baby in that moment. But outside of that particular moment, all I wanted to talk about was business. And that wasn't very fair to him because he had other things. He had other ideas. And this isn't his primary platform, right? Like, he is a shareholder, he is an owner, and he contributes heavily to the business. But he's more of like the godparent. You know, your godparent is supposed to be there to show up, to fill in and care and love on that baby, right? But they're not the parent. They're not supposed to be there full time, and they don't necessarily even want to. It's like, come visit. I'll pick up show. We're gonna have lots of fun, and I need to drop it back off at home, right? It's very similar to being a grandparent, which I am. I get to have all the fun in the world. So you just got to be really, really mindful of that. And the last thing I would say about that before I open it up to more questions, if you guys have any, is do I need to remind you about the science of your cortisol levels being lowered when you miss people? Because you are not stressed, you are excited, and all of the other hormones, that play a part in this go up and make it more exciting when you do see them. So if you miss each other, your sex will in fact be a lot better than if you are always up under each other. And so will the hugs, and so will the conversations, and so will the normal intimacy that comes with just being creative about what you can do for that person and how you can show up for that person. And for parents, that is super important, because your kids, God bless their souls, if you have them, you are so blessed to have them, and it is very overrated. They are very, very, very draining. As much as I love them and I love being a parent, and I think everyone who can and should, who has the right mind, should experience it, and I pray that you do, if that's something that you want, but it is a little overrated and they can drain your entire life. So you have to have that time to fill yourself up and make sure that you're not spending all of your me time with your spouse or the person you're dating or the person you're interested in, because it's exhausting for everyone. So with that, I can get with this. Yes. I want to sing that song so bad, and I know my husband will be mad. You can give it this, or you can give it that. You can give it this, or you can give it. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Singing is my daughter's thing, not mine, so I'm gonna stop it right now. Any questions about why it's important, or how, or issues that are coming up when you're trying to recreate a new dynamic with somebody who's used to always being up under you, and you're used to always being up under them, and you just really want to find some gentle but honest ways to create a new dynamic between you so you can have a healthier relationship? Any questions about this at all? For the dating, for the married, for the figuring it out, I'm excited to answer them. And that's what this is for. This is definitely meant to be a live. I want it to be a live. No questions? Some creative ways to be intimate before sex. Okay, great question on Facebook. So creative ways to be intimate before sex. Let's assume that you know each other well enough to know a little bit about each other. Let's say there's some friendship that had brewed there, and I'm just assuming that you didn't meet this person like day one. Some of the ways that I would suggest to be intimate before sex is really getting to know more about their interests beyond the superficial things. Like, people will say, oh yeah, my favorite food is this, my favorite color is that, I like XYZ sports. But let's get under there. Let's, if you think about a bed, there's all the pillows, and there's layers of pillows, if your bed looks like mine. And then there's the comforter, and then there's usually another quilt or blanket, and then there's the flat sheet, and then there's the fit sheet, right? Like, there's layers. So if we're just thinking about, like, we throw all the pillows off. The pillows is the easy thing. That's the pretty thing that everybody gets to see. But you're not really intimate until we start to pull that blanket back, that first comforter, that down, right? Let's pull that down back. So pull that down back. All right, perfect. I see another question on Facebook. So pull that down comforter back in a new relationship when you're really ready to get into that, but you're not necessarily under the sheets yet. So under the sheets is sex. We're just pulling the first layer of the comforter back. That would really be asking some questions about their youth and who they are and who they were. Like, I want to know, what was the first time you've ever been bullied? Were you the bully? Tell me about that. Right? And you learn a lot about a person when you understand their experience of being vulnerable. The first time that they can remember being vulnerable. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily unpeeling layers as a trauma expert, right? And trying to get into if there was a sexual abuse, which may come out. And if it is, all you have to do is listen. If something comes out that you weren't expecting, is listen and say, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's it. No pity. Most people who went through something and they felt comfortable sharing do not want your pity. Take your pity and pack it. That's not what they want. They just want to be heard and acknowledged and let it go, and not looked at as vulnerable or broken or different. Well, vulnerable is not the best word because we want you to be vulnerable. But they don't want to be looked at as broken or different or glass. They don't want you to treat them as glass after. So ask questions that get into their psyche a little bit. Well, and you can have fun with it. What was the first time that you realized you weren't the most attractive person in the room, especially if you're dealing with an arrogant or, someone who feels like they're an Adonis or something? Like, ask questions like that to just peel the layers back. And by learning those things, you'll get to know more of the heart of the person, which is the most important. Remember, intimacy is all about going a little further. It's doing and asking and saying what most people won't ask. And it translates to business too, which we won't really talk about, but there's a lot to that too. You do more, you say more, you go further. And it's not necessarily the quantity of the thing, it's the quality of the thing. So I hope that was helpful. I have a ton more, which we will continue the conversation for those of you who want before I go to this next question. We just opened today the Intimacy Advantage Clinic. I am not doing it on Facebook. Pray for me, because I know that's where everybody and their mama put a Facebook group. And I am in some really amazing Facebook groups, by the way. I really do appreciate them. I just don't want to create another one, right? I am zigging while everyone is zagging, or zagging while everyone is zigging, whatever the term would be. I want to do something different. So if you are on IG, open up that Linktree link. It's the very top one. You have to fill out a form. We are reading every single submission request directly because there's a couple of questions with your name and email. Once we approve it, we'll submit a Slack invite to welcome you in, and we'll get started. And we continue the conversation, ask questions, get into conversation, all that kind of good stuff. And there's a lot of private videos and Zooms and live streams that will happen just inside the clinic, because it's more than a community. It's a safe space. It is a tribe, it is a community, it's all of that, but it's more than that. It's a safe space, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to get away from the distraction of Facebook and put it there. And of course, I'll put the links to replays and stuff there too. If you're on Facebook, I will make sure that I put it in my bio profile, and while I am thinking about it, I will pull this up and I will pull it and put the link to the form right now. I don't want to do it on IG because I don't want to mess up the phone. I'm just going to put it right here. The form is there. So you guys can click on that and join, and it'll take a few hours and you'll get accepted. Just check your spam and promo folders to make sure that you get that from Slack, and we'll go from there. I don't know why that form looked like that, but that is the form. So you can click it and have fun. We'll update it. So the other question that we got on Facebook was, what are some ways to get from under your partner when you live together? Good question. I love this question so much. Some of it is literally getting out of the house or apartment or whatever and getting some sun. So I am really big on exploring what's in your backyard. Like, I live in an area in Philadelphia where there are so many things that are there's so much construction, it's gentrified, there's all kinds of stuff happening. And I say that not as a negative, I say that as there are lots of things constantly being built up that I don't even know existed. People will come from out of town and say, oh, Naketa, did you know about that so-and-so Mediterranean restaurant is right there, and it's 4 blocks from my house, and I never even knew about it. And it's probably been there 6 or 9 months, but because we get so destination focused with everything, you know, if someone invites us to a birthday party here or a shower here or a dinner there, we'll go to that place and maybe discover something new, but we don't even know what's in our backyard. And your backyard might just be a 4 to 10 block, you know, like a 1 mile radius, or it could be a little bit more expansive if you live somewhere rural or you're like on the West Coast where you actually have to like drive a lot further to get to things. But that's what I would say, is connect with yourself by connecting with your neighborhood and what's there, because you don't want necessarily everything to be super far from you. You can also do things right in your own home. Now, I'm assuming that you got a little bit of space, that it's not a 1-room studio with no corners and no space, which if it is, that's fine too. But start doing some personal development, you know, reading some good books. They don't all have to be self-help. They can be autobiography. They can be audiobooks. They can be Kindles. A good paper book is always my favorite. But you can always do something like that. Listen to podcasts, hashtag that, Balance Boldly. Yes, that was a plug, because we do have a Balance Boldly podcast, which is like 70 plus episodes. So you can go listen to that. And it's everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google, Castbox, you name it, it's there. So that was a shameless plug. But you can listen to podcasts and get out of your head and into some other conversations. So I would say that, because that's another way to get more information to bring to the conversation for you and your spouse or your spouse-to-be or your lover, right? Like, get out of your head and get informed by some other things. And it doesn't have to be about, you know, the environment or the news or investments and financial matters. That's all good too. But it could be a comedy podcast or something that's really hilarious and funny. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that's really, you know, hard and all about the realities of our world and how horrible it is, right? So I would do some things like that. Now, if we're talking about some self-care activities that you can do to get away from, like, to simultaneously leverage as a way to get away from your spouse, is send them somewhere. How about that? Like, sometimes that's really fun. And my husband's a little bit of a different animal when it comes to sending somewhere, because he believes his home is his sanctuary, that is his bubble, that is what it is. So sending him somewhere is not necessarily fun, but I will create new spaces for him. So I will flip the whole living room around and turn, you know, one area into a gym area and make something else, you know, freshen up his office, do something, make the bedroom a theme for a spa for the night, that kind of thing, because he really loves his sanctuary. But I would rather, and this is a hint to my husband, I would rather give him a certificate for an experience somewhere else that he can do with friends or family or just himself. So sometimes that's a really good way to create that space and dynamic by gifting them with something that they actually want to do, which you'll only really know, even if they've never done it before. And I know we have to, be careful with new experiences, depending on the personality, whether introverted, extroverted, ambivert, all that kind of good stuff. But depending on the personality of your lover, you can let them have a solo or coupled experience with someone else, with some good platonic friends or siblings. Or if that's not their thing to try something new, give them something that they can do that they've done before that they would want to do. If you know your man is into, golf or race cars or games, there are game stations popping up everywhere where people are going into these big labs. There's one not too far from me. I was like, who does that? But people who are really into games will go to these game labs, even though technically they got an Xbox or PlayStation at home. It's something about that communal energy, and they like that. So maybe that's an experience that he could try with a friend, or going to the new country club to play golf or something, whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be something new, although new is fun for me. New is not necessarily best for everyone else, especially if they're trying it by themselves. So that's what I would say for that. Oh, thank you. That's such a great idea. Thank you. So on IG as well, I don't want to leave you guys out. I know I have a tendency to lean to my right, so next time I'll put the phone somewhere different. Let me know if you guys have questions, because otherwise we are at time. We are 35 minutes in, and that was including us loving on each other. Next week, I did write this down because I do try to plan. I'm trying not to mess up the phone and the microphone station. We're talking about getting out of the personal funk so you can increase your passion with your lover. That's next week. I'm excited. So yes, next week I'm excited. Passion, lovers, getting out your personal funk, which happens, especially if you have any depression or anxiety or anything like that. Qualified to talk about it, people. So let's have the conversation. If you want to continue from today, or find out anything about the clinic and know, the form is in here. So click and sign on, and hopefully it's working well. If it's not, you guys let me know. And on IG, you can go right to the link, and we're just going to organically grow it. Everybody who applies won't get in it. We already had some interesting people on IG today that I already had to have an earlier conversation with, because if you know me, you know I will. So I am excited that you guys were here. My call to action is very simple. Come into the Intimacy Advantage Clinic. Come there, get more, dive deeper, safer space. It is free. It is ongoing. It is me every day, and eventually we'll add more moderators and stuff as the group grows. And it's on Slack, so you can use it right from your phone or your desktop. And I am purposefully taking it off of Facebook. For now, our Let's Talk Intimacy live streams will be here reluctantly. And I say reluctantly just because I'm like, everybody's on Facebook, right? And that should be a plus, but it's not always a plus for me, the way that my mind thinks. But I will go live on my personal page on Facebook and on IG. I'd rather you join me in IG, because by the top of the year, I will be deleting a lot of stuff from Facebook because I'm just not interested in it. Am I the only one who's not interested in it? I'm just not interested in it. But for now, the technology is working better there. So we will go where the technology is working, and all replays will be put into the community and all the links. So I love you guys for showing up, for participating, for asking your questions, for giving me 40 minutes of your time, for bearing with me while we dealt with technology and lawnmowers and all kinds of crazy that was happening. But I am excited to be here with you, and I look forward to it every single week, unless I'm on the stage impacting in another way. Like on the 26th, that's a Thursday, I won't be here. So that's a little hint. But next week I will be. So invite your friends, share it, share the replay, ask your questions, and come into the clinic so we can fix all of your intimacy matters in work, life, and love. Thank you so much. I'm Naketa Thigpen, and I look forward to you next week. I have a comment. Thank you. Mwah.